30 disturbed convicts sleep inside of a sod-covered house in a Siberian Gulag. Posters of Stalin and Marx gaze down at the prisoners inside of their sleeping quarters. Prisoners at work building the White Sea-Baltic Canal, one of the first major projects in the Soviet Union made entirely through slave labor. 12,000 people died while working in the harsh conditions at the canal. The chiefs of the gulags. These men were responsible for forcing more than 100,000 prisoners to work. Prisoners in a Soviet gulag dig a ditch while a guard looks on. Stalin comes out to inspect the progress on the Moscow Canal, which is being built by imprisoned workers. Moscow, USSR. April 22, 1937. A gold mine that, during Stalin's reign, was worked through prison labor. Magadan. August 20, 1978. Philosopher Pavel Florensky after being arrested for agitation against the Soviet system. Florensky was sentenced to 10 years of labor in Stalin's gulags. He would not serve the full 10 years. 3 years after this picture was taken, he was dragged out into the woods and shot. USSR. February 27, 1933. The directors of the Gulag camps gather together to celebrate their work. May 1, 1934. Two Lithuanian political prisoners get ready to go to work in a coal mine. Inta, USSR. 1955. The crude lodgings that host a group of prisoners in one of Stalin's gulags. Circa 1936 to 1937. Prisoners at work operating a machine inside of a gulag. USSR. Circa 1936 to 1937. Prisoners at work on the White Sea-Baltic Canal. Circa 1930 to 1933. Prisoners hammer away at the rocks in the White Sea-Baltic Canal. USSR. Circa 1930 to 1933. Yuri Tyudyanik, a Ukrainian general who fought against the Soviets in the Ukrainian-Soviet War. Tyudyanik was allowed to live in Soviet Ukraine after the war, until 1929, when Soviet policies changed. He was arrested, taken to Moscow, imprisoned, and killed. 1929. Prisoners transport lead zinc ore. Vigach Island, circa 1931 to 1932. Prisoners digging clay for the brickyard. Solovki Island, USSR. Circa 1924 to 1925. Officials look over their laborers, at work on the Moscow Canal. Moscow, September 3, 1935. A penal insulator inside of a gulag. Vorkuta, USSR. 1945. Stalin and his men inspect the work on the Moscow-Volga Canal. Moscow, circa 1932 to 1937. Gulag prisoners forced to work on a mine overseen by the USSR's secret police. Vigach Island, USSR. 1933. Prisoners at work in a gulag pause for a moment's rest. Circa 1936 to 1937. A guard shakes hands with a prisoner, at work cutting down lumber. USSR. Circa 1936 to 1937. Guards walk through a gulag during an inspection. Circa 1936 to 1937. The prison photo and papers of Jacques Rossi, a political prisoner arrested for his connections to revolutionary leader Leon Trotsky, hang on the wall of a Gulag. Norilsk, USSR. Men at work on the Kolyma Highway. The route would come to be known as the Road of Bones, because the skeletons of the men who died building it were used in its foundation. Circa 1932 to 1940.